Number one, no matter whether you're starting or whether you've been in this business for forever, staying consistent, I think is absolutely paramount. And I think second to that is it's a human business at the end of the day, and don't lose sight of that.
Welcome back to the Full Out Real Estate Agent. We have Erica Reddy here, who is known for her amazing client service. And she is a top 1% real estate agent for Royal LePage. And you might have seen her before on Toronto's Breakfast Television or The Social. And she is able to be a top real estate agent, a top 1% agent for her company out of close to 20,000 agents, while being an amazing mom and wife. Erica, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mark, for having me.
Well, let's go back to the origin story and share a little bit as to how you got started in real estate, and maybe some of the war wounds that you had when you first started.
Sure. So, I mean, maybe like most, didn't actually start thinking I'm going to be a real estate agent. I actually started my degree when it used to be Ryerson, now the Metropolitan University, in radio and television. And I thought, oh, this is going to be so much fun, and I'm going to go into broadcasting, and kind of got into it. And at the time, I also had the privilege of actually purchasing my first place. I had a really small inheritance, and thought, well, rather than going into residence, why don't I, strategically buy an asset, build real estate. I kind of had this brain, I guess, that I didn't realize I had in real estate. And so I went out to find actually an agent to use. And at that time, I mean, we're going back 16, 17 years, downtown Toronto, there weren't a lot of agents to pick from. And a lot of the agents I kept finding were like my parents' friends, and they didn't really cross anywhere near where I needed to buy this condo. So I ended up finding a really awesome agent. She was young and smart and fun. And anyways, I had a great time finding the place and buying with her. And then kind of got thinking, I don't know if this is for me. I really think I want to get my license. And I took her out to lunch one day and said, what do you think about me getting my license? I'll do everything you hate doing. And if I can do what you hate doing well, I feel like I've probably got it. And she thought, oh my God, like your dad's going to murder me. Here I am, getting you a place so you can go to university, and you're now thinking of, switching careers. But anyways, I did my license alongside radio and television, and never turned back.
Wow. You know what? It's interesting how some real estate agents, when they start, they have a really bad experience, which then gives them a strong motivator to be able to get into real estate. You had a great experience. You're like, I really like this.
Yeah.
I think I could do this too.
100%. I mean, when I got into the business and joined, I mean, it was right around 2008. So I'm getting in, I'm so excited. I'm so innocent. Yeah. And everyone around the office is like, oh, doom and gloom. This is terrible. This is the worst market. And I'm like, this is the only market I know. This is great. So I had a lot of optimism, a lot of innocence. I learned a lot, but I honestly came into it just so fired up. And I think that really helped kind of kick me off.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think it's a real blessing coming in a down market when you just don't know any better. I'll say, I look back at 2021, beginning of 2022, we'll say 2021, and agents that got into the business then, I think I saw a post where it was like 21. It was like being a real estate agent. Everybody's having a party on the yacht. And then all of a sudden there's like 3 years later, it's like this big windstorm and the boat,
yeah,
people are flying on.
Totally.
So I started in 2007. So it was similar for me when I started. It was like, I don't know any better. I know everybody's kind of saying it's horrible, but like, I'm just going to make more calls, right? Because I got to put food on the table.
Yeah.
Very cool. So did you got into business with that agent?
Yes.
And like, maybe how did you start? So you ended up saying, okay, I'm going to jump in.
Yeah. So I said I was going to jump in.
Take us from there.
Yeah. So Sam is her name, Samantha Hewitt. She's at Royal LePage Signature. She's still in the business. She's a phenomenal manager in the management team at Signature. But yeah, so anyways, I started, and literally I was like, I'm your guinea pig. I'll do anything. I'll put the signs out. I'll do the lockboxes. I'll put balloons for the open houses. Like everything you hate, I'll do it, because if I can do what you hate, then I can definitely do what you love. And this kind of instant partnership and synergy really started. And we We worked together for, oh my gosh, I'm trying to think now, probably 5, 6 years. And then Sam decided she wanted to take a step back from selling. And I kind of had this moment of like, well, what on earth am I going to do? Because I've only known my career with Sam, and I've only known this business as a partnership. And we fortunately have remained incredibly close friends. I am just so proud of the career she's carved out. And I know, she would say the same for me. And I then kind of went, okay, I've got this great business that I can run with. I've got to figure out how I do this on my own. I was frankly terrified. And I've taken it and run with it and grown it. And, here I am today. Yeah. Almost 16 years later, about 5 to 10 on my, or sorry, about 10 on my own, and would have been about 5 and a bit with Sam.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I just think that's such a great approach when you are thinking about getting into real estate. Like, go to a top agent and say, hey, listen, I'm hungry. I'll do anything you want. And I think when you come in with that kind of learning mindset, it's so rare versus like, well, what's the split? Like, what are you going to do for me? And that was probably so passionate, and you sold. You were probably really, it sounds like you were really enthusiastic. It's like you can't say no to me because I'm just going to keep on coming.
A hundred
Right.
percent. And I can remember the
Yeah.
very, very first deal I ever did. This was kind of as the market was, there was a house, and the market wasn't great. And I, of course, like you were saying, was so innocent and so keen. And I called what was a huge agent, big producer, kind of owned an entire farm of East York here in the city. And I don't know, it was like 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. This is back when we faxed offers. I faxed the offer, I call him up, and then I call Sam to tell her what I've done. And she's like, what? Like, do you know who you just called? Do you know what you're doing? Do you? I was like, no, what, like, I'm getting our client the house, like, what? But I just didn't, I didn't have any fear. I didn't know anybody. There was no egos in my mind. There was no one I couldn't call. There was no one I couldn't
Yeah.
work with. So sometimes I actually wish I had the innocence I had when I started, in just taking some of these things on, and not knowing any better, in the sense of not having a lot of fear.
Yeah, I love that. One of the things I've realized is that when you speak with a top agent, in general, they're pretty good. Like, I think where you start to run into issues is if you have an ego coming into the conversation. In general, like when I did my first deal, I remember that there was a strong agent in the market, and I told the agent, "Hey, listen, this is my first deal,"
Yeah.
and he kind of took me under his wing, and he was good with me, and I remember him. And so I think that if you're listening out there and you're newer, I think that as long as you're being, we'll say, honorable and like open with them, and you're not trying to be like a know-it-all,
Yeah.
I think that in general most agents are pretty good. I think that and for you coming in and setting an offer with that kind of enthusiasm, I can't see anybody getting
No,
mad at you. I mean,
it was a great
it's just
deal.
like, how can you get mad at you? You're
Yeah.
just, there's such a great personality behind that,
Yeah.
right?
No,
Behind
but
you.
I agree. I think there's, no matter how seasoned you are or aren't, I honestly think being honest is the greatest thing. There's nothing worse than asking someone, hey, did you catch that? Or do you understand that? And they kind of say, yeah, I did. And you think, you have no idea what I just talked about. You've never
Yeah,
dealt with this
yeah,
bizarre right of way or easement or something with an estate. I mean, there's always a first in this industry, no matter how many years you're in it. And I agree with you. I think being honest and transparent and just being human is what's
yeah.
so important, because we're all humans trying to pull these deals together, and all it takes is one tough apple, and it's tricky to navigate.
hmm So what helped you get over that original fear of getting into real estate? Like, it was, you said you were scared. Like, was there anything that really helped you, like, push you over the edge to take action?
I mean, definitely, I think getting in, where my fear probably started to come out was actually more when I transitioned out of working with Sam and having to kind of now be on my own, because I really knew this business with Sam. And so as that transition happened, I kind of had a whole learning curve, all over again, of like, okay, what does this look like? Because I would have called Sam and we would have done this together, and I would have done that. Now, who am I calling? Like, and I think it, for me, that's where I was like, okay, I really looked around and realized I had such an incredible, network of agents. And I think this can be a really lonely business for agents. And I think it's really important to carve out your people in this business that you can call on, that you can lean on, that you can, vet a question through that you're not going to feel silly approaching. And so for me, I really feel that I kind of built out that core network and that group of people that could help prop me up. And I think when you find those people in this business and you're willing to be an open book with them, they're willing to be an open book with you. And there is so much business to go around that I do believe um, so much in paying it forward and really being there. So I think as I kind of approached it with that type of mentality, others kind of, met me at the same level, and it just kind of continued to catapult from there.
That's so good. That's one of the biggest things we're hearing now is that going, especially over the last few years, loneliness is a real thing right now. Right? People feeling secluded. They don't have that connection. So definitely getting in. I mean, whether it's a company or a networking group, that's really important because I mean, especially if you're around other top producers, it's just your game elevates up just by hanging around others that are doing kind of what you're doing, and they understand the challenges, and that can also call you out. I think when maybe you're telling yourself a victim story, you realize that, oh man, what, maybe I am. So you want people that can call you out too, say, hey, you know what, is that true? Like, you can't. I think you can do it, right? Versus like, oh yeah, and they're basically pulling you down on the negativity side. Yeah, cool. All right, business. How did you get business when you started? So that's a big question for a lot of agents. Is I want to do more. I want to be busy. I want to work full-time hours, but I just don't know what to do next. So what would you like? What did you do when you started to get in order to get going in business and get more leads?
So, I mean, I have kind of, I'll segue there. I'll just segue here first. So, I pretty much exclusively work word of mouth, repeat, referral. I double down on my database. I really like that is my core sphere. That's my competency. And it's been that way from the beginning. Now, obviously, you're all probably going, well, in the beginning, you clearly didn't have a database. So, how on earth did you start? I really started with my core sphere of people, approaching them, letting them into my world, why I transitioned into real estate, where my specialty was. At the time, I was really carving out a specialty in first time buyers. And so, hosting first time buyer seminars and just getting arm's length on people that I already knew that stood behind me. They maybe weren't going to buy or sell with me, but they knew people that were going to buy and sell. And so this referral network really began. So I think if you're sitting going, where do I want to begin? I'd say find what calls to you, because I know, Mark, you're like, I can pick up the phone and I can dial. Okay, I can't. I'm terrified. I wouldn't do that. So I think it's find what calls to you. If it's door knocking, if it's dialing, if it's sphere of influence and network. For me, that's what it was, and that's really what allowed me to organically grow, within my peers, within my friends, within their peers, within their friends. And now I honestly just feel like I do business with almost my family because they're so close, we're so connected, there's so much consistency, there's so much contact, and I'm really coming at it from a place of genuinely caring. I mean, ask any of my clients when we do any of the events that we do, all throughout the year. There's no talk of real estate, like, ever. Like, it's not a salesy thing. It's a genuine desire to have a connection with these people, and part of that connection is moving them to from a property, buying, selling, that kind of a thing.
Yeah, that's great. Great advice, that focus on what you do well. And so we tell our agents that just pick three, but go deep on those three,
Absolutely.
right? I think that with most agents, they get this overwhelm, especially when you go to a conference, right? You go to one of the big guys, you go to their conference and you go there and you're hearing all these ideas like, oh, I got to do that. I got to do that. And you leave almost thinking that your business it's in shambles.
Yeah.
My business is in shambles and I got to restart everything.
Yes.
uh, First, if you do that, I think that happens with everyone. No matter what the volume is that you're doing, you realize like, oh, there's things that you can do to improve, and that's okay. But you just take one or two nuggets. But the
Totally.
key there is to stick with what works for you, but double down. And I'd say like do more of what's already working versus
Absolutely.
trying to do 10 different things and going shallow. Like mine that, go deep on that well.
Absolutely. And I think
And the
that
other thing,
you have to stay
yeah, go
consistent,
ahead.
because, like, if you're not consistent, I think to your point, yeah, you can decide you're going to do three things, but if you barely do all three or barely do one, like, the consistency
Yeah.
piece, I think, is so much of it. And I mean, that ability to kind of double down and stay consistent, I think that's equally as important as picking the 3 silos that speak to you.
So true. And it's Erica, is more true today than it's ever been. You know, with social media now, like the millions of ads that are coming at us every single day, you know, on all the different social channels, you got all the billboards all around, you got radio, you got like it's people are getting bombarded out there. So if you think that you're getting sick of a message, you like the other people out there haven't even heard about it. And so it's like over and over and over and over until, you know, there's a good story there that Henry Ford, he was walking by the marketing office every day and he kept seeing this ad. And I think after it was about 90 days, he poked his head into the marketing department and said, when on earth are you going to stop running this ad like this? I'm getting sick of seeing this thing. And they're like, oh, we haven't even started running it yet. And so, you know, the story does a good job at really showing that as marketing people. And, you know, I would argue that as a real estate agent, you're in the marketing business and relationship business. But if you're getting sick of a message, it probably means that other people are just starting to see it. And so I think that you nailed it. The consistency is really good. So when you have people that are starting and they're like, I like that idea about working sphere, and they're like, I don't think I have any sphere. What suggestion would you give to them to be able to maybe just get going or, you know, find that first client? What are there any actions you'd recommend to them?
Yeah, I mean, I probably at that point would almost look at like who are your biggest advocates. And I think the tough thing about being an agent, let alone a human, is asking the hard questions. And so I think sometimes people don't necessarily vet maybe the start of their sphere. So, you know, if I were to think, Mark, that you were, you know, kind of an A+ person in my corner, I'd probably need to say to you, hey, Mark, like I've just started in real estate and, you know, I'm really excited. I'm really passionate. And would you feel comfortable supporting me? And would you feel comfortable referring me to your family and friends? And you might be like, yeah, Erica, absolutely. Or you might be like, you know what? I'm like, I've got a couple agents that I'm really close with. Okay, great. Like, it might hurt if you hear it or it might not. But the last thing you want to do is spend your entire first year thinking Mark's 100% got me. He's going to send me all his potential, you know, friends and buyers and sellers. So I think it's probably create that sphere that you feel is going to be your advocate, because that's effectively what you need is advocates. And then find out, are they actually going to refer you business? And if they are, great. And if they aren't, that's okay too. Don't get upset. There's tons of agents, there's tons of people. As I said, there's tons of business to go around if you're there to work for it. The other thing you can do is look at strategic alliances within the business. So real estate lawyers and lenders and inspectors. And I mean, there's so many people that cross other, you know, prospective buyers and sellers. So get smart in how you integrate yourself, say in a community with professionals as well. But I really think it's asking those professionals the tough questions, or asking those hopeful, you know, referral sources the tough questions to know if you've actually got advocates.
You really that I totally agree that just asking for the business is something that is it sounds simple. Most agents don't do it.
No,
It's like, "Ah, I don't really want to put them out. I don't want to sound needy." But unless you ask, like then you'd mention it is like you're assuming that they're going to send you
right.
business, but they're not even thinking about you. And you can't really blame them. They got a million other things going on in their life, right?
100%. And then you frankly almost, I don't want to say you become that salesperson, but you do become that salesperson if you're just shoving stuff down their throat that they haven't actually said, hey, you know what? I really want to get that from you and I really want to support you. So I think
Mm.
it's important, you know, and you could do it in all the ways of being super direct or, hey, can I ask you a favor? But know who your sphere is. And then at least if you're investing time and energy and money and relationships into that sphere, you know that it's going to tenfold give back.
Yeah, 100%. And so, you know, building on what you were saying about strategic, you know, alliances there in regards to lawyers and, you know, mortgage brokers and all the rest of them. If you start sending the business, you send like, you know, one or two over. That's a great time to say, hey, yeah, looking forward to getting you for you to get me back. I'm going
100%.
to keep sending business over, but like, yeah, I'm looking forward to you sending it. And I think by just saying it that way, it creates this rule of reciprocity. They may not even think about sending business back to you, but as soon as you say it,
Yeah.
you better believe they're hunting for it because you already gave them one or two. right?
Exactly.
And I think in most times you just forget to ask the question, and the best people do that. What you just said, they actually ask, and unapologetically, it's coming
Yeah.
from a place of like, I got something really good. You want it.
Yeah.
Just like when you have a great movie or a restaurant that you recommend your friends or family.
All
It's
you
no
want to talk
different.
about. Yeah,
That's right.
totally.
Very cool. All right. So you started with Sphere, you started building, you do primarily through repeat and referral,
Yep.
which is wonderful. Were there any habits that you did or on a daily basis activities that really helped propel your business at the beginning?
So for me, I've always been a person that loves to bring people together. And I don't want to say I coined the micro and macro events, but I was pretty passionate about, small and large scale events in the early days. I mean, I spoke on stages about them at real estate conferences and really had that, view that I'm just going to share what I do. And so what I really what I really wanted to do was have a reason to be, to be in touch with people, but to not just be calling and going, "Hey, Mark, how are you? What's going on?" every single month. And so I looked at kind of reverse engineering it and going, well, if I can bring people to me and add value to them, then it keeps me in front of them. It keeps me in touch with them. It keeps me in contact with them, but it also gives them value. So, perfect example, last month we did a kind of well, actually not last month, this month, it's still February. We did a Valentine's kind of like family, however, or whatever people needed. We had a photographer, we had a studio, and we just said, come and get headshots, family shots, shots of your loved ones, your dog, like anyone that could possibly need or want some kind of photo. The studio's open, everybody comes, you get 10 minutes. I'll get to say hi to you kind of as you file in, file out. The entire event was full in 38 minutes. And now we have another one launching in May and another one launching in June because there's just such desire for it. And again, everybody comes and they're like, "We just love this, and it's so great to see you." And it's truly a genuine place of reciprocity and giving back. And it doesn't have anything salesy about it. The reach out to come, the "I'd love to see you," the "if we get a cancellation." I mean, so many places to have contact and find out what's happening or see a new baby or a dog or whatever it is that they bring. I mean, some people brought 12 family members and did a family photo that they haven't had done in I don't even know how many years, but then they have this amazing keepsake that actually is something of value to them. And all of a sudden, I'm top of mind, but I'm not top of mind because I sent them a calendar with my face on.
Mm. Yeah, it's great advice. How often will you be doing these, smaller and larger events?
So large event is every single December. It's like practically the size of a wedding. Logistics, everything. It's massive. So anybody
And what
starting
is
out, it's going to
what is
sound
that event?
intimidating. So I do, and I have done now for the last 12 years, a massive Christmas party at the distillery
Mm,
district. So everybody comes. They come to the Christmas market. There's an entire beer garden that we've rented out. And everybody comes to pick up their tree or wreath of choice. So we pre-order
mm,
all the trees from condo to extra large and wreaths for those that don't want trees. We have Santa, we have kids activities, we have stuff for the dogs, we have open bar, we
mm.
have like you name it. It is full on. And so that's the big annual thing. So I mean, it's so funny because I've even met, buyers that are like, "Listen, if I buy a house with you, will I get a Christmas tree forever?" And I'm like, absolutely. It's not why you should buy a house with me, but absolutely. So I've been I'm known as like the person that kicks off the Christmas season. And then all
Mm,
throughout the year, there's all sorts of acts of kindness, be it photo shoots, be it manicures and mimosas, be it cooking classes. I mean, you name it. There's always something. And again, everything I shape is around what I love to do. So, I mean, there are people that are like, "God, I'd never want to do a flower arranging thing." And I'm like, "Well, I do. And other people in my database do." Um,
mm,
and so I just think what also has it seem so genuine is it's truly something that I'm passionate about. So in bringing people together, they're also coming and hanging with a lot of my people. So the photographer has
mm,
done all my lifestyle, all my social. So, we're really close. And as a result, we fit and mend well. And then therefore it's felt, at all of these events. So yeah, I think it's finding what you're passionate about because I think the ability to be consistent really comes when you've got passion.
mm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, right? Because you nailed it. Goes back to consistency,
Right.
right? You did this year after year after year, and now it's starting to get like real momentum where people are talking about it.
Totally.
And I mean, it sounds fun enough where you'd want to buy a house just to come to the party, right? Let alone the tree,
And the crazy
open
thing is,
bar and everything.
yeah,
Like,
oh,
I want to
yeah,
buy a house
right?
from you.
Sounding like Oprah. But then I think the piece on
Yeah.
consistency is true because when the pandemic hit, I couldn't have the event. And for me, that was no excuse to not have it. And so myself and my assistant drove every single person that ordered a
Mm,
tree and hand delivered their Christmas tree with like a large scale moving van so that every single person got their tree that year because we couldn't host them. So nothing
mm,
changed. And, again, so many people could have been like, oh, COVID. Oh,
yeah.
there's no way I can't have the event. Send out an email saying, so sorry, I hope to see you next year. You know, but
Mm.
that wasn't enough for me.
You didn't stop. Yeah. And I think that would have been appreciated almost even more that you went the extra mile
100%.
when it was more difficult. So I'm sure you got, a lot of
Oh my gosh.
ongoing business just
Like
from
people
that.
couldn't believe they would come out and be like, let me see what you're driving. And they like open their door and they're like, oh my gosh, how? And I'm like, because it's
Yeah.
important to me that you have your tree. Like COVID
Yeah.
is not stopping this.
Yeah. That's so good. And you know what? It would resonate with people, especially coming out in like snowstorm or, you're coming out in, the middle of winter driving. People see you hustling and working. And especially for people that in general, when you own a home, especially if it's a more expensive home as well, likely it's somebody that they started from scratch and they worked their way up. And so they know the value of hard work. And so when they see somebody else hustling like that, that would appeal to them at a deeper level than just showing up with the tree, right? And feeling grateful. It's like, oh, I like that hard work. That resonates with me. And I think that when it's harder to do and they see that, I think that's a big opportunity to make even more impact. Yeah. Is there anything else that you do during the events that are like really low hanging fruit there for somebody that's like, okay, I want to start hosting events. So you're there, you're not like, it's not like this active campaign you're going around asking for business. It's like a giving back thing. Is there anything that has helped you remain consistent or at the events that you do that's, okay, that's something consistently that we have to do on an ongoing basis?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me at the base of all of this is kind of the year is mapped out. So I feel like probably from an advice standpoint, if it's like, okay, how do I go about doing this? I've never done this before. Like when I started these events, they were obviously not to the scale that they are today. They started more in the fashion of like first time buyer seminars because I needed to find buyers. So, okay, I'm gonna, make those alliances with mortgage brokers and with lawyers, and I'm gonna put seminars together. So, there's some low hanging fruit where you could host it. I used to host them at the bank or host them at the lawyer's office, or so there's ways to do it where there isn't necessarily as much of a like kind of grandiose, I guess, kind of event planning, if you will. But then there's also ways where, let's say you established and carved out a sphere that you felt were really going to be your people. You could do something that, again, was not as expensive. I mean, there's ways to do these events at much lower scale and much lower cost, and still pull them together and have them really feel like they're coming from a place of gratitude to either your sphere or some of your new your new potential clients. And again, they don't have to be huge. I mean, obviously some of mine are absolutely massive, but others aren't. And sometimes the lower kind of scale and the smaller size have the same impact in a different way, because in that, I would say bring like-minded people together. So, for example, some of the events I hosted when my daughter was younger, I would be bringing other young moms together. So all of a sudden, everybody there had a common ground of being a young mom with a new baby, and that was a way to, to have them bond. Come out to a yoga class with your baby, and all of a sudden, you had, 15 people that all had the same common ground. And then, as things start to, scale, it's like, oh wow, Erica has all these young moms and all these babies, and we're so relatable, and you just start to again build your spheres within your sphere. So I think there's ways to do it where you can make it quite small and intimate, and ways where you can really make it large scale. And I think, for those starting out, this probably sounds intimidating, but I promise you, throw a tiny event, find 10 people, it will ripple effect like no other.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. And once you do it once, you realize, oh, I can do that again, right? You just put it in the calendar and then you create a little bit of a checklist and you're like, okay, I'm going to do this a little different. This, I'm sure your first one that you did compared to now, you're probably like a master and
Oh my
learning
gosh. Yeah.
the things to do and not to do, right? You
Like
get
if I
better every
pulled up
year.
pictures or videos of the first event to now, I mean, people would probably laugh and think, "Who on earth came to the first thing you hosted?" Like it would look like a joke. But again, you have to start somewhere. And I'm not saying that if somebody starts their first event today, it's going to be a joke. But I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. Like I was just coming up with this on my own, and everybody was always kind of like, "What is this girl doing?" Because she's doing it differently. Now the events are definitely becoming a bit more commonplace, but I think at the end of the day, what I always do before I start anything, plan anything, I think, what of value are people going to take from this? Like, what are they going to take home with them and have as that
Mm,
keepsake? And because for
mhm,
me, like, that's where the tree was born. You're going to have a tree in your living room for the entire holiday season. And that's like a ripple effect of 30 days of me sitting in your living room. You're going to
mm,
come and get your photo done. Well, that might be framed on your wall, or you get your nails done and they feel and look great for a couple of weeks. Like all these things, it goes a bit back to how you said, like, if you go to a restaurant and you love it, you want to tell everybody about it. So if you're going to something that an agent's planned for you, you want to tell everybody, like, hey, I'm getting a new headshot this weekend. Can you believe it? My real estate agent put this on for me. Or look at these amazing family photos, or look at my Christmas tree, or whatever it might be. Or I had this awesome cooking class. So you all of a sudden become this part of everybody else's conversation. And everyone typically goes, well, my agent's not doing that.
yeah,
So then
yeah,
the next event, it's, oh, hey, can I bring Mark to this? Because, he's a friend of mine and I've told him all about this. And you just start to organically continue to grow and reach and grow and reach, and build.
yeah. No, and it's a really interesting point where it's like, it's just one client that I'm inviting. But it's not really one client. If you do a good job and they're going to advocate for you, they know 200 people. And
Exactly.
so if you're top of mind, you're delivering value for them, like you have potential at getting those 200 people that they know as a referral source, right?
Absolutely. And then
And
social
so I
media
think,
becomes
yeah,
powerful too, right? Because people love
right.
to come to things,
Yeah,
and things they enjoy, they like to share, and things they share, they like to. And again, this ripple just keeps on going. So I think that's such a great point,
yeah,
is you don't realize that one person is actually hundreds of people.
that's right. Now, I know client service is really important for you and going the extra mile. Is there anything that you do for buyers or sellers that you think is maybe above and beyond that helps really deliver that five-star service?
I mean, I think they're going to seem, I think, basic, but maybe they're not. I mean, for me, communication's everything. Being incredibly transparent right out of the gates on schedule, availability, how and when clients are going to be serviced. Um, Prioritizing my family is important, and prioritizing my clients is important. And I make that, known from the get go. I've got, an incredible team. I've got a phenomenal assistant, and I've got a phenomenal agent that we work alongside one another. And so it's not always me. And I'm honest right out of the gates. This is how it's going to look. If it's, these evenings, it's me. If it's this weekend, it's probably going to be Sarah. If it's a second showing, I can make myself available and come back, but I'm always communicating. I feel like it can be hard, especially when you're starting out. You feel like you're pulled in every single direction. And you feel like if somebody calls you and says, I need to see this house in 30 minutes, you're like, okay, I'm there. Like, start the car. You're like practically like, in a car accident to get there. And you haven't even communicated, nor have you vetted. I can remember some of those first showings that I would drop my entire life to get to, and they'd be like, oh, we were just we're kind of bored. And I'm like, do you know that I just drove 2 hours to get here, and I left my, fiance at the time or whatever to like entertain these guests so I think it's communicating your boundaries, it's understanding your clients' boundaries, it's embracing technology. I mean, everybody has everything at their fingertips. I feel like when technology was really rolling in, I was almost trying to get ahead of it, where now it's like, okay, clients have so many portals and ways to look at properties. So the value that you're really bringing as a buyer's agent is information and things that they might not see or know. And again, when you're selling, I think it's coming from a place of direct transparency. Like, you need to tell these people what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. Um, and I think a lot of people go in and, oh, what do you want to sell your house for? Oh, sure, that sounds great. Like, no, what should you sell your house for? What do you think it's worth as the agent? So I really, yeah, I think to me it really stems from communication being the foundation of every client.
Yeah, that's that's the communication. I think from a customer service, especially on the buyer side, but definitely on the selling side as well. Letting people know what to expect. Like you had said, it probably sounds basic, but a lot of agents don't do it.
Yeah.
And so, like, perfect example is for showings. It might be, I have a partner that I work
Yep.
with as well. It might be them. And then when you're communicating that, I think the key is like, if you're not getting anybody less than,
Absolutely.
like, they're great.
Yeah.
And so I think if they have a heads up on that, then it's not a problem.
Yeah.
uh, Now you may be starting and you don't have any agents, any support at all, and it's all on your own. But if you give them a little bit of a heads up that on your schedule, or I'm booked
Yeah.
between this time and this time, but you're coming from a place of confidence, then people in general will work around your schedule.
Hugely.
But I actually think it almost comes across desperate if they're like, "You want to go see a house?" It's like, "Yeah, let's go tomorrow at 3 o'clock." Say, and then in the back of your mind, like, oh, I got all these appointments. I got this, lunch date with my spouse or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay. And then you call your spouse and say, hey, listen, we got to change. I got a buyer. You could have, like, there's high probability that you say, hey, listen, I do have an appointment. You don't need to say I'm having dinner or lunch with my
Yeah.
spouse. I do have an appointment that time. You don't need to say what you're doing. It's an appointment. I have this time or this time available, which works best for you. Like, the double, give two options.
Exactly. Yeah.
And like 9 times out of 10, they're going to say, oh yeah, no problem. And you're
Yeah.
like, huh, oh, I
Right.
thought yeah. And then the spouse is happy, you're happy, the
Yeah.
client's happy. They didn't even, so the communication is a big one. And to build on that, even communicating the fact that there is no update.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
negotiating a deal. I don't know if you,
Got nothing
if
to
you got this,
say.
Erica. So the last house is a number of years. We bought our house, and I actually put the offer in on my own. It was an off market deal, but it was like the dream home that we were like, I really wanted. My wife wanted it too, and it was one of so regardless, we started to negotiate and gave the irrevocable. Well, the irrevocable came and went.
Mhm.
I'm like, oh my goodness, what's going on? And back of my mind, I'm like, agents probably trying to pitch it to somebody else, and oh, it's a seller's, like, all the thoughts are going in the back of my mind, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, like, this is what clients are going through,
Totally.
right? And going through that experience taught me a couple things. One, before the deadline, definitely by the deadline, you need to when you're negotiating an offer, let the client know. That's a basic thing, before it expires, not after. And even if you're getting closer, even well before, letting them know, hey, John, just want to let you know, submitted the offer. I haven't heard back yet. As soon as I do, I'm going to send you a message.
Yeah.
By telling them that, you can end the stories that are playing in your head that the agent knows, and they're waiting on the information they're not telling you.
Yeah.
Um,
But I think it's so
so
true. It's we take for granted, I think, the amount of intel that we have. And we are selling and buying houses for clients like every day. And so this anxiety that a client is feeling, we're not necessarily feeling it. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, but to your point, like, you cannot over communicate. I mean, I literally had a client this weekend that had asked me, and I could not get a hold of the agent for the life of me. But every single day I kept being like, listen, I'm still trying. I've emailed, I've texted, my carrier pigeon's been sent. Like, I don't know what else to tell you, but I'm on it. And all they did was, thanks so much. Appreciate that update. Thanks again. Appreciate. Finally, 4 days later, I got them an answer. But again, I communicated the whole time. If I wasn't, they probably would have thought, oh, she's away on family day weekend, like having the time of her life. She can't be bothered to care, which was not the case. But had I not communicated it, very easily could have been perceived.
yeah. Yeah, people's minds, and that's where my mind went. It went to like the worst place, and especially when it's a house that they really want and they're emotionally tied, it just escalates it. And down the road, you can do a good job down the road, but they'll remember that at the time of negotiation, and so there'll be a little bit of reservation at the time of referral if you don't get that right. And so, Erica, I think the moral of the story is we should all move as real estate agents from time to time to put things into perspective on how important communication is.
I could not. I mean, I moved last year, funny enough, and I could not agree more because even just how disruptive the selling process is. I feel like we walk in and we're like, okay, perfect. In comes the stager, in comes this, in comes that. Everything's going to be great. Enjoy living in this house or not in this house or in an Airbnb. And you're just like, sorry, you just turned my entire life upside down. And I'm just supposed to think this is just phenomenal. Oh, wait. And then it's not selling the way we thought it was. Oh, this is like, we just don't think that way because these are all systems that we roll out every single day, and you forget the human element sometimes. And I think that's so important, is you have to capture that human element, and you have to realize these are people, and this is the biggest, financial decision, emotional decision that they are ever going to make, and you are in the middle of it, and you got to remember that.
Yeah, perspective is powerful. Is there any marketing or any other customer service advice that you have for real estate agents that are listening?
Yeah, I mean, I think, and again, this might not be the most popular opinion, um, because I'm not a big proponent of like, just listed, just sold, just listed, just sold. I'm so busy. I'm so busy. I'm
Yeah.
just going to ram this all down your throat, because we can all do that. And so I think for me, we go back and I mean, this is such a consistent thread of kind of how I do my business, but it is coming from a place of being who you are, being genuine. I mean, if you jump into
Mhm.
my social media and you take a look at me, I'm kind of a third business, and it's pretty soft. I'm a third, how can I be additive? And I'm a third, this is me as an actual person. And so I run my entire business that way. So I'm not, just listed, just listed, just sold at all, because I really, people know I'm listing. People know I'm selling. I don't need to just spam them with it. So, my communication is always coming from a place of, would this be helpful? Would this be additive? And, you won't believe how many messages and emails and calls I'll get, ahead of Valentine's Day being like, oh my gosh, I need a last minute gift idea. I know you had a gift guide. Can you, flip that to me? Oh my gosh, what about this? I have a recipe and I can't figure out the salad dressing. And I know you did a fun, like, that's how I communicate with my clients. That's how I bring them together. It's really coming from a place of,
Mm.
again, sharing who I am and opening myself up to them, because I want them to kind of come into my world and be a part of my, of my
Mhm.
family.
Yeah, for sure. And from a branding standpoint, just to build on this, like do what you know, and is that every single agent, believe it or not, they have something that's unique about them. There's something uncommon that they can double down on and blow up and build a whole service and marketing around. And so if you're listening out there that and you want to know, okay, from a branding, like how do I even separate myself? Because I mean, Erica, you probably heard this, is that from some agents, maybe some clients out there, maybe, not your clients, but I'm saying in general, the marketplace thinks, oh, all real estate agents are the same. But the reality is that even though we all sell and buy homes, the reality is that you as an agent can offer it in a different way. And so going back to what you had said, like you're really big in relationships. So you built your whole service around not like the hardcore sales, but around building relationships and going the extra mile on that end. And so that's where I think if you just got to look internally and figure out what is it that's uncommon about me that I can actually build and actually create like a little slogan to be able to get that out there. I think there's an opportunity there, but just know it in yourself. But the key goes back to what we talked about originally, is consistency with that message and to stay true to that. Because if you're always flip-flopping, then clients are out there like, I don't know what you represent. I'm like, I'm going to go to the next person with somebody that, speaks to who I am.
Or it's like you start on social media and you're like 5 posts a week, and then 3 weeks later you do none. Like, if that's not your jam and being on social is not for you, then don't be on social. You know what I mean? But I also think, I mean, even the other day I was literally at a gas station, grabbed gas, popped into the whatever thing to pay, and there was a gentleman in there, and he was like, I'm really hungry. And I was like, can I get you a sandwich? And he was like, I would love that. So we went to Tim Hortons. Long story short, got him a sandwich. I was like, please have a hot drink, whatever you want. And he's like, I actually haven't had a hot drink in like 3 weeks. I'm like literally buy the entire Tim Hortons if you want. I just want to see food and a warm drink. Anyways, jumped onto social media and just did a quick story of like, we are so fortunate. And I just had this experience. I can't tell you how many people interacted with me and reached out. I'm just being me. I'm just being a human. I'm just being a good person. Like, they care more about that than me being like, I'm just standing outside of my latest listing, 1234, whatever street, you know? And I think that's where sometimes we just lose that connection and we think that we're maybe delivering value, but I'd argue that we're not. And so, starting out, I would say, like you said, find you, find what speaks to you, find what's really your genuine place, and just continue to do that because that's going to resonate with people. And those are then the people that are going to be your advocates. And that's this kind of referral reciprocity. That's the circle that I know that has built me to where I am and that I will, forever be grateful for, but also forever be my genuine self too.
Hmm. That's good. Really good advice. Now, investors that come to you, so they're like, I love investing in real estate and I want to invest in real estate at this point. Are there any challenges that you're finding, or like what kind of advice would you give to investors out there that want to, acquire real estate, maybe not for their own home use, but maybe they want to get a second property or they want to invest more into real estate? What advice are you giving them, and what challenges are you seeing?
Yeah. I mean, I think as far as the investor's concerned, it really depends on what they're looking for. I mean, I've had some clients that are like, listen, I want to invest in real estate, but I want lifestyle to be the, kind of the end goal. So that's typically then exploring, okay, are you looking at a four seasons community, a kind of one season community? Where do you want to be? Because, then maybe you're skiing in the winter and utilizing it, and the rest of the time you're using it for income, Airbnb, that kind of investment. Others, it's like, I just want a straight up investment. I want to buy a condo for my, kid when they're in university. And so that's a completely different investment. So I think it depends on what kind of investment they're looking at, because anything from a cottage to a multiplex to a condo to a pre-construction project, I mean, there's so many things. So I'd say it's narrowing it down to like, what is it that you're after? What are you looking for? What's your time horizon? And then from there, it typically is kind of, who do we need to bring into this purchase? Because I'm not here, there, and everywhere. So in some cases, it's bringing an actual expert in to service that purchase. And I think the big thing is also the economics of it, because interest, borrowing, cost of carrying, these are all they're expensive propositions. So I think this notion that you can put practically nothing down and cash flow positive on these investments has to be broken, and it's not a bad thing. There's ways to look at how it can still catapult you ahead. But I think it is really understanding the core desire, what you want, how you want it, and what it's for. And then we can kind of break down that investing conversation.
Yeah, that's a great insight there for sure. All right. Well, this is great conversation here, Erica. You ready for the rapid fire part?
I am. Let's do it. I'd forgotten this
All
was
right,
coming.
cool.
Here. I'm not very good at this.
You're doing wonderful. Just
No, I'm
wonderful.
not very good
So
at rapid fire.
first one's pretty easy. Favorite book. So if you think of a book that's made the biggest impact in your career, which one is that?
What's really interesting about me is I'm actually not a big reader.
Okay.
So the crazy thing is, I've dabbled in a chapter of this and a chapter of that, but it's pretty rare that I read a book front to back.
Okay. Well, how about a podcast? Is there a podcast that you listen to, or is there any like where do you, or maybe there's a conference that you love going to? Where do you get your insight in
Yeah.
regards to, maybe it's YouTube? Like
No, I
where's your
mean, so
go-to
I would
for
say
learning?
probably, I mean, the book that I have read cover to back that I will take that back. So this might not be as rapid fire, but um, the book that I've actually read cover front to back is a book called Exactly What to Say by Phil M. Jones. His communication, his approach to communication, and his actual certification course, I think is probably one of the most valuable ones out there. So I lied. I have read a book, and it is a great one.
Yeah. Well, it's also really important if you're a author out there to make sure that the first chapter is the best chapter, because there might be people out there that only get to and actually there's a huge stat there that says that it's like the first chapter is the majority of people they just read. So it's not just you, Erica. I
Yeah.
think that's pretty
Like,
consistent.
I'm the person that leaves a conference, like you said, with like 15 different books that everybody
Yeah.
recommended. And then, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I gotta get that. Gotta get that. Is like, or you might even go on Audible and you go buy
Oh,
everything,
yeah.
and then I get, oh geez, I got 20 books here I haven't read or listened to.
Yeah.
So thanks for sharing that. So next question is, what advice? Oh no, second is three words to best describe yourself that maybe your friends and family would describe you as?
I'd say they'd probably say loyal, passionate, and
Mm,
kind.
yep. No, that's my read on you as well. Very good. And last question here is, what advice would you give? Maybe it's a listener that just got into real estate, or maybe they want to take their business to the next level. What final advice would you give?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is kind of echoed in a lot of our conversation today, Mark. But I would say consistency. Number one, no matter whether you're starting or whether you've been in this business for forever, staying consistent, I think is absolutely paramount. And I think second to that is it's a human business at the end of the day, and don't lose sight of that.
Hmm. Yep. Belly to belly. Great advice. All right. So, agents that are listening, what's the best way that they can connect with you if maybe they have any referrals or buyers or sellers in your area? Well, first, the area that you're serving, and then how they can get a hold of you.
So I'm in kind of the core Toronto market. Easiest way to find me is ericareddy.com, which is my website, or at Erica Reddy, which is Instagram. Those are two pretty easy places that you can track me down and all my information.
So good. Erica, thanks for coming on the show. It was a real
Thank
pleasure
you.
to
This
speak
was
with you.
great, Mark. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening to the show. If you liked it, go ahead and share and subscribe to the channel. I love you guys and keep on going full out.